affluenza. Affluenza, the man said. Is it fatal? Can you give me some pill? Can you operate? No, Jesus said. What you need to do is take everything you own, sell it, give that money to the poor, then come and follow me. But at the end of that encounter, we're told that that young man walked away feeling sad and confused. He walked away feeling sad and confused because when you have affluenza, giving, and especially giving generously, just doesn't make sense. One of my favorite stories involves the Butterball Turkey Company. As you might know, each holiday season they set up an 800 number that people can call into to get guidance about how big of a turkey to buy for their family, or to get helpful hints on the best ways to cook the turkey. Well, several years ago, a woman dialed into that hotline and posed this question. She said, "The other day I was cleaning out my freezer down in the basement, and I discovered that I've had a turkey in there for 23 years. Is it still okay to eat?" Well, the person at Butterball said, "Well, if it's been in the freezer the whole time and has never been defrosted, it should be safe, but the quality of the meat won't be too good." The caller said, "Well, that's what I thought. I think I'll just give it to my church." I think that goes to show us how giving, and especially giving generously, just doesn't make sense to many people. And that's because when we have affluenza, we see our primary mission in life as getting rich. We see our primary mission in life as accumulating more and more things for ourselves. And so giving, and especially giving generously, doesn't make sense because when we do that, that decreases what we're keeping for ourselves, which is the exact opposite of what affluenza is telling us that we ought to do. But even though so many people consider it normal to want to be rich, to want to accumulate more and more things for themselves, the Bible doesn't agree. For instance, in his first letter to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul told the Christians in that church that they should excommunicate, that they should boot out a fellow who was engaging in sexual immorality, someone who was sleeping with his father's wife. And I think most of us would probably agree that that kind of behavior shouldn't be tolerated in the church. But in that same letter, Paul also instructs the members of that church to excommunicate and shun anyone who is greedy. And that shocks us at least a little bit. After all, like that famous line in the movie Wall Street, aren't we supposed to believe that greed is good? But even though many people do think of greed as good, again, the Bible disagrees. You see, a basic teaching in the Bible is that you are not entitled to keep for yourself everything that you've earned. No, a basic teaching in the Bible is that you have an absolute responsibility to be willing to give away at least a part of what you receive. For instance, the Bible repeatedly speaks about gleaning. That means that if you are a farmer and you buy all the seed yourself, and do all the planting yourself, and do all the weeding yourself, and do all the harvesting yourself, you do not have a right to keep all of those crops for yourself. Instead, in the gleaning laws, God says that anyone who is hungry or needy has a right to come onto your property and to take whatever food they need. And in the same way, the Bible repeatedly speaks of tithing as the minimum guideline when it comes to giving. A tithe, of course, is 1/10. In other words, when God calls on us in the Bible to tithe, God is calling on us to be willing to give at least 1/10 or 10% of what we receive, so that God's kingdom, God's work, might be done here on earth. And even though many people today don't want to hear about tithing, I can't help it. It's there in the Bible. In fact, the prophet Malachi even goes so far as to say that those who choose to give less than a tithe are in effect robbing God. I realize that some people are thinking to themselves, I can't tithe. There's no way I could give 10%. But you know what? The problem is not that you can't tithe. No, the problem is simply that you don't want to tithe. To prove that, I'll offer the same guarantee that I've offered in past years. Tithe. And if at any point during the year you find that God is not providing for all of your needs, then let me know, and the church will give you your tithe back. Notice here in this story that this young man encountered Jesus as Jesus was setting out on a journey, on a mission. And so Jesus was basically saying to that